So this video is on how to debate in person. Okay, so having a degree in philosophy is basically having a degree in debate or a degree in argumenting. Now, having an argument isn't the same as what people use in everyday life. It doesn't mean to have a heated discussion or have a hostile discussion. What it is an argument is a set of logical premises, okay? And you can put forward an argument, and when people do this, this creates a debate. It's nothing aggressive, it's not hostile, it is just putting out a logical set of premises and saying, this is what I am debating. So having a debate in person is a lot more difficult than having a debate or creating an argument in writing, okay? That will be a separate video. Because it's in writing, it's easier because you can edit what you've written down, you can add points, you can add examples, you can switch it around, you can change the structure, but you can't do that when you're in person. The best you can do is buffer, take your time to think about what you're going to say, and then construct it the best that you possibly can. The first thing I'm going to talk about is what actually is the goal of a debate or an argument, right? So the things that I'm going to say can help you no matter what your goal is, but there's some things that perhaps a argument or a debate should be. Now, it should be productive. You're both trying to work together, is saying there's two people involved or two groups. You're both trying to work together to both have a better understanding of what it is that you're discussing, right? If you are trying to convey that you're right to the other person and you're trying to get them to know what you know, then that would be a win if you can convey some information accurately and well. But it would also be a win if some of your beliefs and ideas have been shown to be wrong. So through the debate, through the argument, the other person has pointed out that in some of your thoughts, in some of your beliefs, there are problems that need to be evaluated. You need to rethink what you believe or what you think you know. However, I'm sure there are people that have clicked on this video because they just want to win arguments, by which I mean heated arguments with people in their everyday life. But again, these tips will work for both just a thought about what it should be and what should be the goal. If you are losing an argument, that's not a bad thing. Okay, it's not a bad thing. You shouldn't feel, rage inside. You should just think, and you should be non-judgmental, try not to be too emotional about the subject matter. So go on then, let's talk about some tips, some ideas about how to be better at debate or better at arguing. The first thing I'm going to mention is probably the best piece of advice I think I got whilst I studied philosophy. And that's, if you want to debate, the very best outcome, the best thing you should be aiming for is this. You should be able to bring the opponent's argument up to its highest standard and say, even up here, even if this is true, this is true, this is true, your argument still flawed, it still fails because of this. Okay, so what that would look like is, in terms of structure, they'd be claiming all these things, and claims have to be built on original beliefs, right? So, or a piece of knowledge. So at the bottom, there would be a foundational layer that, if removed or if proven wrong, would tumble the rest of their claims that were added on logically from it. And that is the best case scenario. So in writing or in person, when you're debating, the best way to debate is by taking away the very foundations of which their whole argument lies. However, that's not always possible, and it's not always easy, even where it is possible, but that is kind of what you ought to aim for. So aiming for the bottom of the structure, not trying to shoot down every one of their points one by one. You're trying to break down the whole Jenga tower when you study philosophy as an undergrad or at A-level, you will come across a Greek philosopher known as Socrates, and you'll come across the phrase the Socratic Method. Okay, and that is probably one of the best ways, if you're not used to arguing or debating, best ways to kind of start it off. So the Socratic Method is a way of kind of duplicating what Socrates did in his debate style in the Plato dialogues, which was just always questioning and always trying to define the terms of the thing that you are talking about. Okay, and just from defining the terms, which is necessary in any debate anyway, because you need to know that you're all talking about the same thing, just by defining the terms, then in the debate you might find that you guys both believe the same thing, or you're both arguing for the same thing in a different way. So you could cut the whole thing short if you just define what you're talking about in the first place, because you might just be arguing over semantics more than anything with substance, right? But let's think of some examples. So when someone says, oh, you know, people naturally do this, that might be their premise, their declarative statement. People naturally do X. Well, what do you mean by the word naturally? So when people say the word naturally, do they mean of nature? Do they mean genetically, biologically? Is that what you mean by the word nature? Or by natural, do you mean I impulsively do this, people impulsively do this, or people instinctively kind of move towards this, or by habit they do that? Like, all of those words do not mean the same thing, yet they're words that are sometimes swapped for the word nature. So if you can take their statement, phrase it how they meant to say it, in which both participants understand what is actually being said, rather than using an exchangeable word or a metaphor or something, you can start the debate from there. Other examples that are really obvious, and I think, personally, I think it breaks down a lot of the debates in the past couple of years, is defining terms like sex, gender, sexuality, right? People use sex and gender interchangeably, even in academic circles. They will use them interchangeably, and unfortunately, even in psychology, they're used in research papers interchangeably, but they do not mean the same thing. A lot of the debate comes around the use of the word gender when the word sex is meant to be used. They both have definitions, they both have a basis for and a different meaning. They're not the same and they're not interchangeable. So already at the very start, when people start using the words that are the core of the subject that they're talking about, and they are not on the same page about their meaning, when one person says something, the meaning then gets lost in translation between the two people, and the subject interprets it differently to how it was supposed to have been meant from the person saying the sentence. And that is where a lot of arguments and debates can break down, even for good or bad. So either you start an argument because you both disagree on this communication issue, disagree on something that becomes a communication issue, or a debate gets ended because you both realize that through trying to define the terms that, you didn't mean what I thought you meant. Oh, we're talking about different things. Cool. All right. So that's something I would do, and I do when someone says something. Even if I know what it means, or I think I know what it means, I would say, what do you mean by that? Because that person might use the word in a different way, or phrase in a different way. Even though I'm like, I 100% know what that word means, I use it all the time, I've been analytical about that word, I've written about it. No, it's coming from a different person, it's been mixed in with their experiences. What do they mean by that word? And then that can start from there. Another way you can improve your debate method verbally is by just asking for evidence. So when someone proposes a claim, and they could say it with such conviction that they know it to be true more than anything, asking, oh, do you have evidence to back that up? To which, if you're arguing with people on the internet or people you know or in person, you can't always just pull out your sources right then and there, or you might not be able to find them. And you kind of have to take them on faith that there is something they know and it is true, which is not a good source of knowledge. You can't know something just because somebody believes they know it. That's not a good basis for knowledge. However, you can instead of asking them to provide evidence, you just say, "Oh, what's your source? You know, where'd you get that piece of information from?" And then they can just say verbally, "Oh, you know, I watched a thing and this person said it, or I got it from here, or this website." And then maybe you can even attack the credibility of the source or the website or the person, right? Because sometimes the sources themselves are not credible, because if it's an individual person, no matter how many credentials they've got, if it's coming out of you know, a belief, or they said it, therefore it must be true. You know, there's plenty of biases and there's plenty of problems that can come around with where you get your information from, but people have biases, people trip up if it's not proven in many other ways, and it's just a belief from somebody. It doesn't matter if that's your mum or your cat or the Pope. If somebody says something and then you believe it's true because they said it, that doesn't make something true. So you can argue from there, from the credibility of their sources. And talking about sources and their credibility, me included, right? Anything you see me say on the internet or in life, you should be skeptical. I could be wrong at any time. Anything I think is true or I thought was proven to be right at one point can then in the future be shown to be incorrect. And that is the same with all knowledge. You shouldn't take what people say on the internet, no matter how much they say it with conviction that they think it's true more than anything, which you get a lot on YouTube, for example. People will be giving out knowledge, not providing sources, like me, and you will take it that they're true, when no, not always the case. They're just saying things they think are true. It's not the same thing. So always be careful if someone says, "Oh, you know, it's all on YouTube, man. You can see the videos on YouTube." No. That's not a credible source of information. Your argument's already crumbling its foundations based on the pool that you received your evidence from. Another thing that I think is worth noting is the idea of cause and effect. So this happens all the time in debate, where people might attribute causes to something when in fact it's reversed, right? So you might think, "Oh, this caused this, therefore this," when it's not the case. Sometimes it's the other way around. Like, no, you think that was started first. No, this started first, then this, which completely spins everything on its head, because they might attribute like this being bad because this happened, when in fact the bad thing may have actually occurred first and the other thing came out of it, which then sets into the world a whole new set of ideas and debates when causation is attributed the wrong way around. And people do this all the time. People will attribute causality to people, to the environment. You could watch out for that. When somebody claims that, you know, "Oh, this is why this happened," well, did it? Okay? Like, just always ask a question. Every time a claim is made, question that claim. This happened because of this. Well, did it? Is there no other thing that could have happened? And then I'll make this my last point, reductionism then, since I started talking about it. When people attribute a cause from one thing to another and they say, "Oh, this only happened because of this," well, that is almost always ridiculous, because there is normally more than one cause for a particular thing. There is more than one influence, one factor that produced a result or produced something after that. So anytime someone says, "Oh, you know, this, therefore this," in general debate, that is not normally the case. It's, no, this and this and this and this and this and this caused this. Like, if you're going to try and make a claim about causation, which again, scientists don't do for a reason, you need to be thorough about it. You can't just be reductionist. You can't break it down to an oversimplification. So I'll leave it at that. There's a few things for you to think about and go away with about debate. The biggest one is what even is the goal of a debate. Don't go into arguments or debates with people and do it out of hostility. Don't get angry at it. Don't take it personally. It is a battle of minds. It's arguing logical premises against logical premises or unlogical premises to find out what is true about the world. That is the point. You want to come off knowing that you have learned more about the world, or you've helped someone else understand. And that is really the goal. And hopefully these tips are things that either you can look out for yourself when people make these kind of claims that I've given examples of, or some tactics that you can use at the start of a debate, so that might make it go a lot more cleaner and easier, and a lot more linearly, a lot more structured. Because, you know, some of these things people don't even do, and then it just becomes a muddle of, these are all the things I think, and these are all the things I think, and then you're all trying to mash your beliefs together, and it really makes for a messy discussion that doesn't lead anywhere.